covered the fire, but actually it turned into this liquid. They put the liquid on the altar. When the sun shone on it, it ignited essentially. And here is this kind of really cool sign of God's faithfulness. And this is this here's fire that turned into liquid that turned back to fire. We recognize that this is the people of God, right? They were fire. Here they are in covenant with God in the land of Israel. They're brought into exile. And in that time, they lay dormant in some ways. I mean, obviously God is still working with them, but then they're brought back to the temple. They're brought back to the Mount Zion. And what happens? Ignited once again. It's kind of like this image that I'm teasing out here. And no, tomorrow we're going to hear about Jeremiah hiding the ark, which is a whole nother story. This is incredible that we're going to get, because I don't think that we heard about Jeremiah hiding the ark anywhere other than 2 Maccabees. I could be wrong on that one, but I think that that's accurate. Gosh, we also have Sirach, and I just love, sometimes I know some wives might have been like, okay, Sirach, I'm not sure I like this guy. He keeps talking about, a garrulous wife or a complaining wife and all these kind of things, but we got to highlight this. And this is children in the building of a city establish a man's name, but a blameless wife is better than both. So a lot of kids building a city, a great name. Yeah, but a good wife, a blameless wife is better than both. Goes on to say, a friend or companion never meets one amiss. Those are good things. But a wife with her husband are better than both. And the author of Sirach, he says multiple times that sense of like, here's praise for that great relationship between a husband and wife, that the blessings of marriage can be such an incredible thing. But I love this in Sirach, how it goes through all these things that are good. Yesterday we talked about all the things that God made are good. They can be used for evil. But he even goes on even further today in chapter 40 and talks about how here's a lot of good things, but there are things that are even better. There's good and there's kind of great, right? So this life is sweet for the self-reliant and the worker. Yeah. But he who finds a treasure is better off than both. So basically lottery winners. Wine and music, glad in the heart, but love of wisdom is better than both. Flute and harp, pleasant melody, pleasant voice is better than both. Like there's something so good about this recognition that in a world of a lot of goods, our task is to choose the best. That in a world full of goods, that we can't let the good get in the way of the best. Can't let the good get in the way of what really should be our priority. So moving on just a little bit here into chapter 41, I'm talking about death, and it's worthwhile. I'm not sure if all of us here in this community, if we reflect on death much, sometimes it's unavoidable. I imagine I know this because there's a large community of us journeying through the Bible that maybe today is the day of someone you love deeply's funeral. Maybe today's the day that you're sitting in someone's hospital room right now listening to the Bible, and this person you love, this person who loves you, is slipping away or is in danger of death. And so just be sensitive to that, realizing that you're not alone. As we always say, you're not alone. We are praying with you. We're praying for you right now. But there's this sense of a lot of us can avoid reflecting on death. We don't take the time to realize that this is guaranteed. So in chapter 41, here's the author saying, "O death, how bitter is the reminder of you to one who lives at peace among his possessions, to a man who's without distractions, who is prosperous in everything, and who still has vigor to enjoy his food." Like basically, how bitter is the reminder of death to one who's at peace, one who has prosperity, one who has health. On the other hand, O death, how welcome is your sentence to one who is in need and is failing in strength, who's very old and distracted over everything, to one who's contrary and has lost his patience. That sense of like, man, yeah, our perspective on life at this moment, whether it's full of pain, like maybe death is welcome, versus full of strength and full of opportunity, maybe death is a bitter reminder. But he goes on to say, "Do not fear the sentence of death. Remember your former days and the end of life. This is the decree from the Lord for all flesh. How can you reject the good pleasure of the Most High? For whether," and this is important, "whether life is for 10 or 100 or 1,000 years, there is no inquiry about it in Hades." And there is something about that just is so important for us. One of the things that I reflect on so often is that every single day is a gift. That whether a person lives for a day or for 100 years, or 1,000 here it says in Sirach, every day of those is undeserved. Every one of those is a gift. And sometimes that breaks our heart, right? Obviously, when someone dies before we were ready, if we could ever be ready. But when someone dies before we were ready, it feels like we're robbed, right? It feels like we've been gypped. It feels like something's been taken from us, and that's real. But a deeper truth is that something was given that didn't have to be given. There's just someone who's 4 years old, and I hate to even mention this, someone who's 4 years old and dies. And then they die, and we see this as something's been taken from us, someone's been taken from us, and that is true, and that breaks our heart, and I'm not arguing that. That is true. But also the deeper truth is something had been given that didn't have to be given. 4 years of someone's life that didn't have to be given. Doesn't make it easier, I guess. Maybe it does in some ways, but it doesn't take away the grief, it doesn't take away the heartbreak. But maybe before that day comes, maybe before that day when the person is taken away, we can look at them across the kitchen table, we can look at them, we can call them, we can do FaceTime them or whatever the thing is, and we can say, every day with you has been a gift that I didn't deserve. There are a lot of parents who are listening, a lot of grandparents who are listening, to be able to look at your kids and say, every day with you, however old they are, every day with you has been a gift. This didn't have to be given to me. And so I just don't want to let it go to waste. I don't want to get to the point where it's gone, where you're gone, and now I just think of what's taken. I want to be here in front of you and remember what's been given. Same thing is true, husbands, to look at your brides. Brides, to look at your husbands. Friends, to look at your friends. And all of us to be able to look at the Lord and say, God, however long you want my life to be, and the end, you're not taking life away from me because it was never mine in the first place. You gave it to me. And now, like Jesus, we can say, into your hands, Lord, I commend my spirit. I give it back. I don't know. This is something I've been praying about. And thanks for letting me reflect on this with y'all. I know there are so many of us right now in this community in grief, in the midst of loss. And so you're not alone. We are praying for you. We are praying for you. Please pray for each other. I'm praying for you. Please pray for me. My name is Father Mike. I cannot wait to see you tomorrow. God bless.